Shophetim, Judges chapter 9. And Abimelek, son of Yerubbaal, went to Shechem to his mother's brothers, and spoke with them and with all the clan of the house of his mother's father, saying, Please speak in the hearing of all the masters of Shechem. Which is better for you, that 70 men, all the sons of Yerubbaal, rule over you, or that one man rule over you? And you shall remember that I am your own flesh and bone. And his mother's brothers spoke all these words concerning him in the hearing of all the masters of Shechem, and their heart inclined toward Abimelek, for they said, He is our brother. And they gave him 70 pieces of silver from the house of Baal Berit, with which Abimelek hired worthless and reckless men. And they followed him, and he went to his father's house at Ophrah, and slew his brothers, the 70 sons of Yerubbaal, on one stone. But Jotham, the youngest son of Yerubbaal, was left, because he hid himself. And all the masters of Shechem gathered together, and all of Beth Milo. And they went and made Abimelek sovereign beside the terebinth tree at the post that was in Shechem. And they informed Jotham, and he went and stood on top of Mount Gerizim, and lifted his voice and cried out, and said to them, Hear me, you masters of Shechem, and let Elohim hear you. The trees went forth to anoint a sovereign over them, and they said to the olive tree, Reign over us. And the olive tree said to them, Shall I leave my oil with which they esteem mighty ones and men, and go to sway over trees? Then the trees said to the fig tree, Come, reign over us. And the fig tree said to them, Shall I leave my sweetness and my good fruit, and go to sway over trees? Then the tree said to the vine, Come, reign over us. And the vine said to them, Shall I leave my new wine, which rejoices mighty ones and men, and go to sway over trees? Then all the trees said to the bramble, Come, reign over us. And the bramble said to the trees, If in truth you anoint me as sovereign over you, come, take shelter in my shade. But if not, let fire come out of the bramble and devour the cedars of Lebanon. And now, if you have acted in truth and integrity in appointing Abimelek to reign, and if you have acted well with Yerubbaal and his house, and have done to him as his hands did to you, for my father fought for you and risked his life and delivered you out of the hand of Midian. But you have risen up against my father's house today, and slew his 70 sons on one stone, and appointed Abimelek, the son of his female servant, to reign over the masters of Shechem, because he is your brother. If you then acted in truth and integrity with Yerubbaal and with his house this day, then rejoice in Abimelek, and let him also rejoice in you. But if not, let fire come out from Abimelek, and devour the masters of Shechem and Beth Milo. And let fire come out of the masters of Shechem and from Beth Milo, and devour Abimelek. Then Jotham ran away and fled, and he went to Beer, and dwelt there for fear of Abimelek his brother. And Abimelek governed Yisrael 3 years. And Elohim sent an evil spirit between Abimelek and the masters of Shechem, and the masters of Shechem acted treacherously against Abimelek, in order that the violence done to the 70 sons of Yerubbaal might come, and their blood be laid on Abimelek their brother, who slew them, and on the masters of Shechem, who strengthened his hands to slay his brothers. And the masters of Shechem put men in ambush against him on the tops of the mountains, and they robbed all who passed by them along that way. And it was reported to Abimelek. And Gaal, son of Ebed, came with his brothers and passed over to Shechem. And the masters of Shechem put their trust in him, and went out into the fields, and gathered their vineyards, and trod out, and held a feast. And they went into the house of their mighty one, and ate and drank, and cursed Abimelek. And Gaal, son of Eved, said, Who is Abimelek, and who is Shechem, that we should serve him? Is he not the son of Yerubbaal? And is not Zebul his officer? Serve the men of Hamor, the father of Shechem. But why should we serve him? If only this people were under my hand, then I would remove Abimelek. And he said to Abimelek, Increase your army and come out. And when Zebul, the governor of the city, heard the words of Gaal, son of Eved, his displeasure burned. And he sent messengers to Abimelek by deceit, saying, See, Gaal, son of Eved, and his brothers have come to Shechem, and see, they are besieging the city against you. And now get up by night, you and the people who are with you, and lie in wait in the field. And it shall be, as soon as the sun is up in the morning, then rise early and rush upon the city. And see, when he and the people who are with him come out against you, you shall do to them as your hand finds to do. And Abimelek and all the people who were with him rose up by night and laid in wait against Shechem in 4 companies. Now Gaal, son of Eved, went out and stood in the entrance to the city gate, and Abimelek and the people who were with him rose from lying in wait. And when Gaal saw the people, he said to Zebul, See, people are coming down from the tops of the mountains. But Zebul said to him, You are seeing the shadows of the mountains like men. And Gaal spoke again and said, See, people are coming down from the high part of the land, and another company is coming from the diviner's terebinth tree. And Zebul said to him, Now where is your mouth with which you said, Who is Abimelek that we should serve him? Are not these the people whom you despised? I beg you, go out and fight them now. So Gaal went out, leading the masters of Shechem, and fought Abimelek. And Abimelek pursued him, and he fled from him. And many fell wounded up to the entrance of the gate. And Abimelek stayed at Arumah, and Zebul drove out Gaal and his brothers, so that they would not dwell in Shechem. And it came to be the next day that the people went out into the field, and they informed Abimelek. And he took his people and divided them into 3 companies, and laid in wait in the field, and looked and saw the people coming out of the city. And he rose against them and smote them. And Abimelek and the company that was with him rushed forward and stood at the entrance of the gate of the city. And the other 2 companies rushed upon all who were in the fields and smote them. And Abimelek fought against the city all that day, and captured the city, and slew the people who were in it. And he broke down the city and sowed it with salt. And all the masters of the tower of Shechem had heard that, and entered the stronghold of the house of El-Berit. And it was reported to Abimelek that all the masters of the tower of Shechem were gathered together. So Abimelek went up to Mount Zelmon, he and all the people who were with him. And Abimelek took an axe in his hand, and cut down a branch from the trees, and took it and laid it on his shoulder. Then he said to the people who were with him, What you have seen me do, hurry, do as I have done. And all the people likewise cut down each one his own branch, and followed Abimelek, and put them against the stronghold, and lit the stronghold on fire above them, so that all the men of the tower of Shechem died, about 1,000 men and women. Abimelek then went to Thebez, and he encamped against Thebez, and captured it. However, there was a strong tower in the city, and all the men and women and all the masters of the city fled there, and shut themselves in, and went up to the top of the tower. And Abimelek came to the tower and fought against it, and approached the door of the tower to burn it with fire. But a certain woman dropped an upper millstone on the head of Abimelek, and crushed his skull. He then immediately called the young man, his armor-bearer, and said to him, Draw your sword and kill me, lest men say of me, A woman killed him. And his young man thrust him through and he died. And when the men of Israel saw that Abimelek was dead, each one went to his own place. Thus did Elohim repay the evil of Abimelek which he had done to his father to slay his 70 brothers. And all the evil of the men of Shechem Elohim turned back on their own heads, and the curse of Jotham son of Jerubbaal came on them.